everybody. Happy 4th of July, happy Independence Day. It's a special year, 2026, celebrating our 250th birthday as a country. What a great celebration. We are a very blessed nation to have the freedoms we have and the really amazing history we have. So today's video is celebrating that history, celebrating the Revolutionary War era and how we became a country. So I went to Historic Rockford in April. They've been doing patriotic and historical programs all year to celebrate America's birthday. And this one was called Songs and Stories of the American Revolution by Matthew Dodds. He is his own performer slash historian slash educator, entertainer, and he did this whole program on basically how we became a nation and the stories of the American Revolution. So he did it in story, he did it in song, and story songs. So it was really fun, really cool, very entertaining guy. So I asked him ahead of time if I could record it and share it with you all, and he said yes. And all he asked is I share his YouTube channel on my channel. So I'm gonna link that below. And he's very knowledgeable about the history of the United States and even Pennsylvania. So yes, just so you know, Historic Rockford has a lot of great events, educational, historical events throughout the year. And this year has been very special to the birthday of America. So lots and lots of programs going on. It's not too late to go. They're having concerts this weekend during the 4th of July. They're having ongoing programs throughout the summer to celebrate America. So I highly recommend checking out their website and going to the property. It's kind of in the middle of Lancaster Central Park, so it's beautiful, quiet, kind of isolated, just surrounded by trees. It's really, you don't even know where you are. Pretty calm, peaceful area. At the end, I'll show you a little clip of some more programs that they are offering, just so you're aware of that, if you want to check further into that. We'll go straight into his presentation. So 95% of this video will be him presenting his great program. Very entertaining, very educational, very fun. So I hope you enjoy it.
Gentlemen and gentleladies, let me tell you why I came in a song. Well, I didn't come in a song. I came in a horse and buggy. But I mean, you know what I mean. Today I'll take you back in time, back to our nation's birth, sir. Tell you what 'twas all about and soon for all I'm worth, sir. Yankee Doodle is a song you learned in your upbringing. There were many other songs the colonials were singing. By the way, can you hear me in the back? Well, I feel sorry for you. But if they've got to listen to me up here, so do you. I think it's only fair. Where was I? Oh, yes. I tell you all of Washington, of Lexington and Concord, of the Tea Party in Boston town, and other facts of record. Yankee Doodle is a song you learned in your upbringing. There were many other songs the colonials were singing. They were dancing the ballet in France, and they were putting on operas in Italy, and they were singing madrigals in England. But the people who came to America, who were adventurers, explorers, soldiers, sailors, farmers, servants, slaves, indentured servants, convicts, noblemen even, they had little time for opera or ballet. They were too busy attempting to survive in this new world. And they did bring music with them, but it was folk songs and ballads, most of which were not written down. Those that were published on broad sheets of paper, which were called broadsheets. They're really thinking, it took a long time thinking about that one. Well, the English, Spanish, Dutch, French, Swedish, German, Scottish colonists encountered a number of nations already living on this land. The Seneca, the Cayuga, the Onondaga, the Delaware, the Mohawk, the Algonquian, the Natchez, the Creek, the Chippewa, and more. And reaction of the Indians to the newcomers, and vice versa, varied from anger to friendly cooperation. Early contact with Indians by traders and adventurers proved to be of great value to the Pilgrims when they arrived in 1620. Pennsylvania took in religious groups rejected by the other colonies. That was settled by the I don't have to tell you folks this, do I? No, I don't think so. The Germans had strong feelings about the separation of church and state, and many of them settled in Pennsylvania. German farmers were familiar with fertilization, and their farms produced high yields. And they exported their surplus crops to, I have to keep doing this to get the straps on and up. They exported their surplus crops to the southern colonies and the West Indies. And this is a song that comes to us from the Pennsylvania Germans. And it's all about the things a man goes through to get himself situated when he first comes to this land. And by the way, there's a part for you to sing. Did they tell you you were going to have to sing when you came? That's because no one would have come. I'll tell you that. You have to remember the entire song backwards in order. All right? She nodded. She'll help you. Good. All right, here we go. When I first came to this land, I was not a wealthy man. So I got myself a farm, and I did what I could. And I called my farm the muscle in my arm. And the land was sweet and good, and I did what I could. When I first came to this land, I was not a wealthy man. So I got myself a shack, and I did what I could. And I called my shack Break My Back. And I called my farm the muscle in my arm. See how that goes? From now on, you're on your own. The land was sweet and good, and I did what I could. When I first came to this land, I was not a wealthy man. So I got myself a duck, and I did what I could. And I called my duck Out of Luck. And I called my shack Break My
Back.
And I called my farm the muscle in my
Arm.
And the land was sweet and good, and I did what I could. When I first came to this land, I was not a wealthy man. So I got myself a cow, and I did what I could. And I called my cow No Milk Now. And I called my duck Out of Luck. And I called my shack
Break My Back.
And I called my farm the
Muscle in my arm.
And the land was sweet and good, and I did what I could. Well, now I have a farm and a cow and a duck. Perhaps I can get a wife. You ladies wouldn't marry a man that at least didn't have a cow and a duck, would you? No, of course not. That would be absurd. Your father would never let you. When I first came to this land, I was not a wealthy man. So I got myself a wife, and I did what I could. And I called my wife Run for Your Life. When my wife is present at these performances, I always say, call my wife Love of My Life.
Oh.
It's not as funny, but it's much safer. Oh, yeah. And I called my cow No Milk. And I called my duck
Out of Luck.
And I called my shack
Break My Back.
And I called my farm the
Muscle in
And the
my arm.
land was sweet and good, and I did what I could. When I first came to this land, I was not a wealthy man. So I got myself a son, and I did what I could. And I called my son My Work's Done. There we are. And this is a song that goes all the way back to the Africans and the sea islands off the coast of Georgia. Michael rowed the boat ashore, hallelujah. Michael rowed the boat ashore, hallelujah. Sister helped to trim the sails, hallelujah. Sister helped to trim the sails, hallelujah. Join me. Michael rowed the boat ashore, hallelujah. And immigrants from Ireland and Germany with no emotional attachment to England were pouring in. And the colonials were growing more and more independent. Now, all able-bodied men in the colonies were expected to take up arms when danger threatened. these kind of arms, not necessarily these kind of arms. You see what I mean? Soldiers in the militia were responsible for providing their own weapons, horses, and clothing. So the colonial soldier was likely to pick up what he could, where he could. The colonial young ladies, of course, were looking for a man to marry. And many a young lady has been swept off her feet by a man in uniform. Any of you ladies in this group been swept off her feet by? Well, it's not too late. Well, the American colonists viewed the presence of British troops with favor as long as the threat of French and Indian attack remained. After the French and Indian Wars, though, the Americans saw no need for continued British military presence. But from the British point of view, it was all different. They would have told you the need was increasing. There was the newly gained territory to protect. There was no organized government west of the Alleghenies, and there was a need, they felt, for the Americans to share in the increased cost of governing the colonies. So, the British closed the West to settlement, and they levied taxes and duties, and they enforced the collection of these taxes and even older taxes that they had not bothered to collect in before, you see? Well, the presence, oh, I didn't tell you that. And they stationed troops in New York and Boston. And the presence of these troops was distasteful to the Americans, who were more interested in freedom than independence from England at this time. And in 1750, Dr. Joseph Warren, who was later killed at Bunker Hill, wrote this song, Free America. Lift up, you hands, ye heroes, and swear with proud disdain. The wretch that would ensnare you shall lay his snares in vain. Should Europe empty all her force, we'll meet her in array. And fight and shout and fight for free America. Torn from the world of tyrants beneath the western sky, we formed a new dominion, a land of liberty. The world shall own we're masters here, and hasten on the day. Huzzah, 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 my boys, for free America. This next song is called the Liberty Song, considered to be one of the first American patriotic songs. The lyrics are to an old English air, and they were written in 1768 by a man named John Dickinson. I believe you've heard of him. Yes. To encourage Americans to give their money in defense of their liberty. At the time, Mr. Dickinson, like many Americans, was not an advocate of independence. Later, he would become a member of the Continental Congress, a soldier in the Continental Army, and who knows, when we become our own country, they may elect him governor of state, Pennsylvania, perhaps. Do you think it would be Pennsylvania? Most likely, I think you're right. And once again, it's good to point out that the colonists were not against paying taxes. They believed that you needed to pay taxes to keep the colonies running. But they wanted to pay taxes to the colonial governments because they could elect the men who were in office and vote them out of office if they wanted. What they objected to, as you know, was that the British were forcing taxes upon them and they had no voice in the British government. So what they didn't object to taxation, they objected to taxation without representation. You knew I didn't need to tell you all that. Now, all right, I'm ready. Come join hand in hand, brave Americans all, and rouse your bold hearts at their liberty's call. No tyrannous act shall suppress your just claim. For stained with dishonor, Americans' name. In freedom we're born, and in freedom we'll live. Our wallets are ready, steady, friends, steady. Not as slaves, but as free men, our money will give. freedom we're born, and in freedom we'll live. Our wallets are ready, steady, friends, steady. Not as slaves, but as free men, our money will give. Our worthy forefathers, let's give them a cheer. To climates unknown, be courageously steer. Through oceans and deserts for freedom they came, and dying bequeathed us their freedom and fame. In freedom we're born, and in freedom we'll live. Our wallets are ready, steady, friends, steady. Not as slaves, but as free men, our money will give. Then join hand in hand, brave Americans all. By uniting we stand, by dividing we fall. It's a righteous an act, let us hope to succeed. For heaven approves of each generous deed. In freedom we're born, and in freedom we live. Our wallets are ready, steady, friends, steady. Not as slaves, but as free men, our money will give. The harbor in Boston smelled like tea, which I'm sure was an improvement over what it smelled like before. Perhaps they thought maybe we should dump tea every 4 or 5 months, yes. Well, in response to this event, Parliament passed the Intolerable Acts. One of the provisions of this punitive legislation closed Boston Harbor until the money was repaid. Instead of being intimidated, the colonies united to support the rebels and got Americans thinking more and more of independence. And on the night of April 15, 1775, British General Thomas Gage marched his troops out of Boston on a raid to capture the rebel store of arms and ammunition at Concord. American militiamen, who called themselves the Minutemen because they agreed to be ready at a minute's notice, formed on the green in Lexington to confront the British troops. And during the standoff, an unknown person fired a shot, and the Battle of Lexington began. And then came the Battle of Concord. And days later, as British troops withdrew back to Boston, marching down the open road in red coats, colonial militiamen hid in the bushes and picked them off as they walked down the road. You see, the redcoats were used to fighting in open fields with enemies. Over in Europe, the British would line up on one side of the field, and the French or the Germans would line up on the other side, and they would just shoot each other until they were all dead. The Americans had learned Indian tactics: run, shoot, and hide. Or hide, shoot, and run. Or you could, you know what I mean. Yeah. And this popular song celebrates the rebels' victory in the first 2 battles of the war. Oh, this is not a banjo song, it's a guitar song. The Irishman's Epistle. Because it uses an old Irish fiddle tune melody. Plus, if you want to find someone to fight the Brits, look for an Irishman. He's always willing. I'm sure he'll be doing it for many, many years after I'm gone. I have it. By my faith will I think you're all makers of bulls with your brains in your breeches, your arse in your skulls. Excuse me, ladies. Get home with your muskets and put up your swords and look in your book for the meaning of words. You see now, my honey, how much you're mistaken, for concord by discord can never be taken. We'll do the fiddle part in between with a na-na-na, and we can thumb our noses at the Brits. You ready? I can't thumb my nose, I'm playing guitar, but you're welcome. How brave you went out with your muskets all dry and thought it would frighten the foes with the sight. But when they get there, how they powdered your palms, and all the way home, how they peppered your bums. Pardon me, ladies. And is it not funny, a comical crack, to be down in the face and get shot in the back? All together. Na 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 na. With all of your talking and all of your wording and all of your marching and shouting and swording, how come you did think that they didn't know how to be after their firelocks as smartly as thou? You see now, my honey, 'tis nothing at all, but pull on the trigger and pop goes the ball. Na 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 na. And what have you got now with all your designing but a town without victuals to sit down and dine in? And to look on the ground like a parcel of mules and see how the Yankees have beaten the fools. I'm sure if you're wise you'll make peace before dinner, 'cause flying and fasting will soon make you thinner. Yeah. Issued the Declaration of Independence. You heard about that? Mm-hmm. Yes. It was no longer a fight for the rights of Englishmen. It was a fight to form a new country free of the rule of old Europe. And so we needed a new flag. We had flown this flag, the Continental colors, 13 colonies loyal to England. But by 1776, no loyal colonial would fly that flag. And so we got a new flag, this flag. And I believe all of you have heard the story that this flag was all thought up by Betsy Ross, and a committee of men came to Philadelphia to get her to sew the flag. You know that story? Sorry. Well, it's not true. No, in fact, what we do know from colonial records was that a patriot from New Jersey, I apologize to all the Pennsylvanians that were holding on to Betsy Ross, named Francis Hopkinson, took it upon himself to design a flag. And this is the flag he came up with, and so it's called the Hopkinson flag. And it was 13 stars and 13 stripes. It was not a huge amount of thinking involved because, well, I'll tell you this first. Well, so the Continental Congress accepted that and passed an act making the flag 13 stars, 13 stripes. But the problem with this flag was that the order of the stars reminded people too much of the St. Andrew and St. George cross. People did not like that. And so when they went to seamstresses all over the 13 colonies and asked for a new flag, they said, can we have it in any other way than that? And some of the seamstresses said, well, we can put it in a circle. And they said, I like that. The only thing Betsy Ross ever claimed was that she said, why don't we use 5-pointed stars rather than 6? 5-pointed stars are easier to make. A good seamstress can take a square piece of cloth, fold it just right, make 2 clips, and have a perfect 5-pointed star. Now, if you would like to know the story of how that, about Betsy Ross designing the flag came about, you'll have to wait 100 years or until my performance is over, whichever comes first. The war went on for more than 8 years, and the toll on both sides was appalling. Of those who served in the Continental Army, 1 in 4 died. 1 American male in every 16 who was of military age died during the Revolutionary War. 1 in 4 British soldiers, Hessians, or Loyalists died in the war too. Many lives were lost, much destruction done, much treasure wasted. But people don't tend to write songs about the battles they lose, except the Irish. They'll still do that. And the songs that follow are about the battles American won. But through the rest of 1775, there was not much good in the Revolution to sing about. 6 months after the Declaration of Independence, the American Revolution was all but lost. A powerful British force had routed the Americans at New York, occupied 3 colonies and advanced within sight of Philadelphia. General Washington lost 90% of his army and was driven across the Delaware River. Panic and despair spread throughout the states. The colonies were now states, you see. Yet, even as the British took over control of the colony, the state of New Jersey, people would not give up. And even as British troops and Hessian troops occupied that colony, the people rose up. And they would do it in small bits. They would see a group of Hessians or British soldiers out in the open. They would hide in the bushes and get several fellas and shoot them all dead and run back home and sit down for dinner like nothing had happened. What? The British were killed? I didn't know that. I was just here. Washington saw his opportunity and seized it. On Christmas night, 1776, as a howling nor'easter struck the Delaware Valley, he led his men across the icy river in rowboats. In a surprise attack on Trenton, the rebels killed 106 Hessians and captured the remaining 900. This timely American victory was a morale booster for the civilians and greatly enhanced the reputation of General Washington. It turned out to be a pivotal and galvanizing moment in the American Revolution. And somebody who was there wrote a song about it. On Christmas Day in 76, our ragged troops with banners fixed for Trenton marched away. The Delaware there, the boats below, the light obscured by hail and snow, but no sign of dismay. Our object was the Hessian band. They dare invade fair freedom's land and quartered in that place. Brave Washington, he led us on, his streaming flag through storm and sun had never known disgrace. In silent march we passed the night, each soldier panting for the fight, the white benumbed with frost. Green on the left at 6 began, the right was led by Sullivan, who ne'er a moment lost. The war dragged on. Even though the British won many battles, they kept losing a lot of soldiers. And Cornwallis had no way to replace them quickly. On the other hand, there always seemed to be more and more Continentals. And across the sea, the British people were growing tired of spending money and men on the rebellion. And British troops were also fighting France and Spain in Europe. And on August 16, 1781, the British army of General Cornwallis defeated the army of General Gage in Camden, South Carolina. And though Lord Cornwallis was charged with controlling South Carolina and Georgia, he decided on his own initiative to move his army into North Carolina and Virginia to finally crush all rebel opposition in the South. And throughout these operations, the American army, under the command of General Greene and later Washington, used a series of Indian-style attacks harassing the British. And the British kept, well, and they finally trapped the Redcoats in Yorktown, Virginia. The British kept waiting for the Navy to arrive with reinforcements, but the Navy did not come. A French fleet had driven the British off after a week of naval battles. You may remember there was a fellow named Marquis de Lafayette in France who was quite excited about the idea of independence. And he came over here and brought many of the French and members of the French Army and Navy with him. And he became aide-de-camp to General Washington. Well, so on October 17, 1781, Lord Cornwallis surrendered and his entire army. And one American wrote a song about it. And for the melody, they chose the melody that the once proud British Army had used to brag about what a great army they were. Now being sung right after they just lost to all those fellas they looked down upon. Come all you bold Americans, the truth to you I'll tell. 'Tis of a great misfortune which late on Britain fell. 'Twas in the heights of Yorktown where cannons loud did roar. They summoned Lord Cornwallis to fight or else give o'er. A summons to surrender was sent unto the Lord, which made him feel like poor Burgoyne and quickly draw his sword. Must I give o'er these glittering troops, these ships and Hessians too, and yield to General Washington and his bold rebel crew? 'Twas the 19th of October in the year of 81. Cornwallis did surrender to General Washington. 6,000 chosen British troops marched out and grounded arms. Huzzah, 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 me boys, for you sweet music charms. 6,000 chosen British troops to Washington resigned, besides some ships and Hessians that could not stay behind. With refugees and blackamoors, oh what a direful crew. 'Twas then he had some 1,000, but now he has but few. Here's health to General Washington and his brave army too, and likewise to our worthy Green, to him much honor is due. May we subdue these English troops and clear the eastern shore, that we might live in peace, my boys, while sword they are no more. The use of the diamond-back rattlesnake as a symbol of American colonies can be traced all the way back to the publications of Benjamin Franklin in 1751. He made the first reference to a rattlesnake in a satirical commentary published in the Pennsylvania Gazette. It had been the policy of the British to send convicted criminals to America, and Franklin suggested that we repay them by sending rattlesnakes back to England. In 1754, during the French and Indian War, Franklin published his famous woodcut, I'll stand up to show you folks this, of a snake cut into sections, representing the colonies, with New England joined together at the head, South Carolina at the tail, following in their order, and the statement, join or die. This was the first political cartoon in American newspaper. And as the revolution grew closer, the snake began to see more use as a symbol of the colonies and the patriots. In 1774, Paul Revere added it to the title of his paper, The Massachusetts Spy, with an illustration that showed a rattlesnake engaged in battle, wrapped in battle with a British dragon, you see? And later on, Franklin published an essay in the Pennsylvania Journal under the title American Guesser, in which he suggested that the rattlesnake was a good symbol for the American spirit. Benjamin Franklin had a high opinion of rattlesnakes. Perhaps you don't, but we'll see if we can change it. I'll read what he says. I recollected that her eyelids excelled in brightness, that of any other animal, and that she has no eyelids. She may therefore be esteemed an emblem of vigilance. She never begins an attack, nor once engaged ever surrenders. She is therefore an emblem of magnanimity and true courage. As if anxious to prevent all pretensions of quarreling with her, the weapons with which nature has furnished her, she conceals in the roof of her mouth, so that, to those who are unacquainted with her, she appears to be a most defenseless animal, the way the British thought of the colonies, you see? Yes. Well, and even when those weapons are shown and extended for her defense, they appear weak and contemptible. But their wounds, however small, are decisive and fatal. Conscious of this, she never wounds till she generously has given notice even to her enemy by giving a rattle, you see, and cautioned against the danger of treading on her. And he said, was I wrong, sir, in thinking this a strong picture of the temper and conduct of America? Well, in the fall of 75, the United States Navy was established to intercept incoming British ships that were bringing war supplies to the British troops. This tune goes all the way back to London in the 1600s, where it was known, very popular. It had a same melody that you're going to recognize, but a different title and different words. It was called Nancy Dawson, and it went like this. Nancy Dawson, she's so fine, wouldn't get up to feed the swine, lays in bed till 8 or 9, it's so poor Nancy Dawson, who called themselves Puritans because they wanted to purify the Church of England. And at the time of Oliver Cromwell back then, they did everything they could to separate themselves from British people. They dressed very plain. They spoke very plain. They worshipped differently. They were made fun of by the royalists and the regular Britishers. They called them a number of names, one of which was Roundheads, because the Puritans cut the hair very short, while the royalists liked to wear the hair in long ringlets. It was very common to make fun of these uncolorful Puritans in jokes, and somebody finally decided they would do it in a song. And so they came up with this. Yankee Doodle came to town riding on a pony, stuck a feather in his cap and called it macaroni. Yankee was a common term of contempt back then. It meant someone who was very simple-minded. Doodle, as you might guess, meant someone who was very simple-minded. And macaroni was partly what you think of and partly not. You see, back in those days, the term macaroni pejoratively referred to a man who exceeded the ordinary bounds of fashion in terms of high-end clothing, fastidious eating, and gambling. He mixed continental affectations with his British nature. What? See, back then, wealthy young men, upon coming of age, took the tour of England, and they would get a chance to visit all the countries, the grand tour of Europe, not of England. They lived in England. Yes, English young men would tour the continental Europe. And when they went to Italy, for the first time, they had that pasta known as macaroni. They liked it, and they brought it back. They also liked and brought back a number of way over the top fashion ideas. One of which, that the whole style was called macaroni. Now I'm going to walk around and show you this picture. It is a man dressed way more flamboyantly than he should, and he's wearing a wig. And by the way, this is not a satire. This is an actual representation of how they looked. Wearing a wig, I'll just explain it. It'll take too long. Later on, you can come up. He's wearing a wig that is so high off his head that another man has to take a sod to lift the hat to put it on the top of his head. There are 25 parts to this story. So. When they arrived, they met the natives, who they called Indians. That's because Columbus was a little mixed up when he arrived. He thought he arrived in the Indies. But nonetheless, several of whom, as I mentioned before, had learned to speak a little bit of English. But try as they might, they could not pronounce the word English. It came out as Yonkis. So the Indians would say, stranger, what do you call yourselves? Puritans would say, we are the English. Indians would say, Yonkis. Puritans would say, no English! I'm sure they shouted. People do that, like that's going to help. Well, when the few non-Puritan Englishmen who were over there, some traders, trappers, heard that, they laughed and they started calling them Yankees, but it meant the same thing. And in 1775, when the extremely proud British Army came to fight the French and Indians, which we talked about, they wanted to make fun of the Americans and what terrible soldiers they thought they were. So a doctor assigned to the British Redcoats named Richard Shackburg rewrote Yankee Doodle to make fun of the Americans. And every time the colonials came out, the British troops go, "Hey, here they come. Let's all sing it. Get ready. Here we go. You over there. Yankee Doodle came." And they hated it. And 20 years later, when the British came back to put down the American Revolution, they again sang Yankee Doodle, this time across the lines, to make fun of the Americans. But in a wonderful twist, it was all turned around at Yorktown. When the Redcoats had to surrender, they had to give up all those fancy muskets and turn them over to the Continental Army, who by this time had their own blue uniforms. And to make it even more embarrassing for them, they were forced, the British, to walk down a little dirt road, while on one side of the road, the American army stood in their new blue uniforms, and the French army stood on the other side in their white uniforms, and they all jeered at the British troops as they marched down in disgrace. The Americans in English, the French, pardon my French. Yes. And the British were so embarrassed, they turned their heads and refused to look at the Americans. And General Lafayette didn't like that. And so he rode over to the American Fife and Drum Corps and said, "Messieurs, would you like to rub their noses in it?" "We do." He said, "Play Yankee Doodle." And so the American Fife and Drum Corps struck up the song Yankee Doodle to make fun of the British that had used it to make fun of the Americans. And the British left and we became a country, and Americans began singing the song, even keeping some of the lyrics that tell what terrible soldiers they are, just after they had defeated the finest army in the world. And folk song lyrics change all the time, but I'm always up to date. These are lyrics published in 1799. Father and I went down to camp, along with Captain Gooding. There we saw the men and voices slickly chase me pudding. Yankee Doodle it up, Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the steps with the girl behind me. And there we see 1,000 men, rich as Squire David. What they wasted every day, I wish it could be saved. Yankee Doodle it up, Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the steps with the girl behind me. And supposedly this young man is so unacquainted with military equipment, he doesn't even know what a cannon is. In the next verse, he attempts to describe it. There we see a swamping gun, large and log of maple, upon it use a little cart, a load for father's cattle. If you were a British redcoat, you would have laughed. Sing along. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the steps with the girl behind me. And supposedly he's never heard anything as loud as a cannon either. And every time they shoot it off, it takes a horn of powder, makes a noise like father's gun, only a nation louder. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the step with the girl behind me. And supposedly he doesn't even know what a military drum is either. I see a little barrel too, the heads they made of leather, knocked upon with little clubs to call the folks together. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the steps and with the girl behind me. And there was General Washington Washington upon a slapping stallion set the world along in rows and hundreds and in millions. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the step with the girl go handy. And in closing, let me say, remember this one thing, sir. Remember what the Patriot said, we shall have no king, sir. Yankee Doodle.